Larry Pratt is a gun lobbyist. Normally, he is just talking about guns, and he's a pretty extreme guy in that regard. But he was actually on the Gun Owners News Hour recently, and they got to talking about what will solve the problem in Black America. And they have a very unique theory for what will provide a solution. Let's listen to them.
Some of the best Catholic priests I've seen in this country are from Africa. Intelligent men with PhDs.
Generally, the African from Africa is a very pro-American person, a very happy person. I know several, and they just always happy with a joke, a pleasant smile on their face, and they clearly don't identify with the surliness that's all too frequently the attitude of their fellow African Americans here. But these are folks that really stand apart, and hopefully they can approach some of their fellow blacks and say, "Hey, buddy, you got this all wrong. Let me explain to you the way the world really works."
He sounds exactly like a conservative talking about how happy slaves were in the South back during slavery. They were happy. They always have a joke on their lips, a smile on their face. So that was, of course, extremely offensive.
You mean like Phil Robertson?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I mean, he was talking about it a little bit more recently, but exactly that's the case. And so normally, when you're saying something, when you're like a Republican white commentator, when you say something about like African Americans, you say, well, I know blacks. I have a few friends. He apparently doesn't, but he has met a few. He made that very clear. I've met a few.
No, both the host and this guy are extremely offensive, and I mean. Okay.
It's conservative radio, though. This is actually the least offensive segment they had.
This is amazing to me. Okay, first of all, the host starts off by saying, there are intelligent African priests. Like, they're smart. They're from Africa and they're smart.
Yeah.
Like, his question was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then surly African Americans. Nice generalization about an entire population of people in the U.S.
Thug, so let's give him some credit.
No, they're surly though. They're surly. They're angry. They're surly. They need to be dealt with. They need to be like the happy Africans from Africa, not these crazy African Americans.
The point you made about the priests, though, that I love that for them realizing this about African priests is exactly the same as O'Reilly going to a predominantly black restaurant and finding out, holy shit, they're not just yelling for more iced tea. Like, I love when conservatives have the world revealed to them. So there's a lot of offensive things. The one point that I want to make before we get to the second video, though, is for a long time, the right-wing strategy for dealing with African Americans has been to co-opt certain conservative African Americans, have them come on their show, Sean Hannity's very famous for this, and then say constantly, every night, all the bad things that they think are wrong with African American culture. And so they pay them a lot of money, they come and they tell black people how awful they are. But apparently they haven't been getting the job done, so they're looking to import some more authentic, effective representatives straight from Africa. And maybe it'll work for them.
And if you haven't noticed, it's again a characterization of a certain group of people, just blatant and blanket, just throw it on top. And then, by the way, these African priests that are so happy and go lucky because they're not from America. Africa's a continent, so suddenly African Americans that we identify as African Americans here in our country are from Africa.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you could be from Morocco, you could be from fucking Egypt. Egypt is in Africa. And so, those people, these are all the descendants of all of our African Americans here. And it's just, if they just come over and just, if you learn how to smile like your African ancestors, which I don't even know where the hell I'm even talking about where they're from, then they're just all the same. Why can't you be more like those guys? Yeah. It shows the level of ignorance, which is where racism comes from.
Yep.
Again, your level of ignorance about who people are and how many you've actually met. You ever wonder why African Americans you ran across, you dumb fuck, aren't happy when you walk up to them?
It
reminds me of a piece of shit.
It kind of reminds me of conservatives in Los Angeles that think that everyone who's Latin or Hispanic is Mexican. Yeah. And they say things like, instead of saying, do you speak Spanish, they'll say, do you speak Mexican? Yeah. Like, you come across that a lot in Los Angeles. You're just like, wow.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, if you're from Morocco, if you're from Kenya, or if you're from South Africa, those are very different cultures. In fact, I encourage you to track down, there's a map. It's in a list of the 20 maps you need to see that will revise what you think about the world, where they took Africa and they put all of the different continents that fit inside of it it is so much bigger than the traditional, I forget the name of our traditional map. It makes Africa look so much smaller than it actually is. And you're talking about so many people over such a great distance. You wouldn't say the same things about Spanish people and German people and people from the Czech Republic or something like that. And so it's incredibly, I guess, Western normative or whatever to say that about Africa.
Didn't Sarah Palin called it a country? I'm very curious how many conservatives think Egypt is in the Middle East. I don't think a lot of, I mean, I'd like to think our elected officials know better, but yeah, I don't think that people immediately think of Egyptians as Africans.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess there's also the intersection of culture and geography and everything, but important fact to know about particularly Larry Pratt when it comes to both African Americans and also gun culture. This is a guy that said that Trayvon Martin, when he knocked down George Zimmerman, well, he should have ran away. Clearly, he should have just ran away. He has no right to stand his ground, of course. But anyway, let's go on to our second video really fast. Larry Pratt talks about what he loves about a particular African country, and it's not good stuff.
And they're very conservative politically, like the country of Ghana. It's still illegal to commit an abortion. It's illegal to be homosexual. Very conservative social laws and very free market oriented as well.
The fact that they're still, in some cases, executing homosexuals, that's a great thing. Let's import just that to our culture. Good idea, Larry Pratt.